Right. Hey, everyone. I am here with Chris Perez. Hey, Chris. How are you today?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Great. And you are with Real Estate Craft out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And today we're going to be talking about buyer consultations. Now, most people don't do these, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah, they
huge
kind of wing it. Yeah.
is yes. Talk to us about like the consultation before you go out and kind of like what happens. What is your process?
Well, I mean, I think there's a script for it, but in general, what I want to know is, are they, how serious are they, or how much in need are they? Like, where are they on the timeline? Are
Yeah,
they looking to do something within the next 30 days, the next 6 months, or further out?
right.
I want to figure out what their needs are, what they're looking for,
Mhm.
and I want to see if they're already pre-approved or if they're at least willing to get pre-approved if they're financing,
Yep.
and to see if I have someone that I can actually work with.
Yeah.
Um,
And like, where are they living now? Do they have to be out of there by a certain time? Do they have to sell it? Right? Like all of this
Perfect.
stuff.
Yeah.
So let's walk through like quick scripts. So let's say a buyer calls you and is like, "Hey, I want to see this house." You've never met them. They found you on whatever, like your website. What do you what do you say? How do you get them to a consultation before you pop tart up over there?
Um, well, honestly, I used to go into a script and really try to get them in to meet with me
Hmm.
and try to get them pre-approved, and I was very, very rigid.
Okay.
I wouldn't work or I wouldn't leave my office unless I had a pre-approval in hand.
Hmm.
And what I found is that it worked some of the time, but it didn't work most of the time.
Okay.
And what I learned from one of my coaches is that most people want to know who you are before they can trust you with those financial conversations and before they dive into a lot of personal stuff. And the general public right now just they're used to and they want instant gratification.
Sure.
And I'll probably get a lot less resistance and a lot more business if I just gave them a little bit of flexibility. And if I can show them that one property and meet them
Oh,
there,
Chris, we're gonna fight.
let's
Yeah.
fight. If, instead of meeting at my office, we have to meet somewhere. And yes, it is a drive for me in some points. Um, but give them a little bit of flexibility and meet them there and open up the conversation there. And it was something that I really, really had to get used to.
Yeah.
It was against the grain for me and against everything that I had been taught and
Right.
everything that made sense to me in my mind. And I'll be honest, it has worked.
Oh,
I may ask a couple of questions just to gauge how serious they are,
okay.
um, but I generally bring up the questions about financing or proof of funds once I'm there and I'm in their face and I can shake their hand.
Okay.
And
What do you think
it really
though?
started to work.
That's good. I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to do business, right? It's just a matter of I've done before where it's like I understand what you're saying about the instant gratification. So I'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, great, let me check. And then been like, okay, we're able to see it at 4 o'clock. Are you
Right.
free at noon? Let's just jump on a quick Zoom call or let's have a phone call. Do you know what I mean? So like there for me, there's a little flexibility because I really don't want to go if they're not. I mean, I'm not going to go if they're not pre-qualified. But I
Right.
understand if you don't give them something, they may or may not give you something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, especially in this market, I don't think that we should be taking up time for well qualified buyers with buyers who I don't know. I don't want to walk through a house and not know who I'm with.
100%.
That's like a,
100%.
if you're a safety,
So
stuff like that. But
what I find is that this market actually helps
oh,
us
good.
with this
Okay.
problem. And at the beginning, when I first started getting those leads, it was a difficult process for me mentally. But
Hmm.
as COVID started and this market started, and it became so overwhelmingly difficult to land contracts,
Right.
it's actually an easier conversation now to have almost upfront over the phone. Like, hey, yeah, no problem. Let me see what time they're available. I'll schedule it. But you know how this market is, right? It's a very
Nice.
aggressive. We need to be ready, and we need to put our best foot forward. So while I do this, let me just quickly ask you: are you pre-approved or are you paying with cash?
Perfect.
Right? Because I want
Yeah.
to make sure that I can get you this home if you love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to submit an offer as soon as right after we see it. So I just want to make sure we have our ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll meet you there at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
That's a
that's how I
good
kind of do it.
point.
Like
Yeah.
it's about timing and
Hmm.
making sure that they're prepared to submit an offer
Right.
for them. Like I'm doing this for you, not for me.
Right. Exactly. Like if you like it, are you ready to compete? Are you ready to move forward? Does the timing work out for you?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, you can like pull them through that conversation
yeah.
right there. Are you having them I think that's good. And that's that like language that you used was really good too. I think that's easy for everyone to use. Like, you know how this market is, right? Because actually some people don't. Like I was talking to a guy yesterday and he just like had no idea. And I was like, it doesn't sound like you're ready. He was like, no. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
bye-bye.
yeah,
Like, thanks for calling. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, he might be ready down the road, but he
Maybe
may not be ready right now. And
I'm a lot more pickier than most people. I'm not into it. Like we could do it now or that's kind of it.
yeah,
Um, are you having them sign like a buyer agreement? Oh, Chris, you're killing me,
you
Smalls.
know, um, I don't. That's the honest
Oh,
answer.
why?
Yeah, it's not. In 17 years here
Hmm.
in South Florida, I forget. I think I've been with 3 different brokers.
Uh-huh.
I'm now the broker owner, and I do tell my agents they should. I was never taught how to use one. I think I did in one of the Keller Williams classes. They may have brought it up, and I
Hmm.
know that some Keller Williams agents use it. It's just not readily used around here.
Okay.
It might be a mental block for me.
Yeah.
Probably 80% mental.
Yeah.
But there's just so many agents here,
There's a
and
billion agents where you're at, like
there's a
in
billion.
Fort
So
Lauderdale.
it's about speed, efficiency, and providing a level of customer service that they're going to be really impressed with, and they're not going to want to go anywhere else with.
See, I would think like that argument gets used a lot, right? But the other side of it is like, especially in like you're dealing with a lot of business owners. And
Mhm.
so I would feel that they would appreciate the contract because they get contracts for the work that they do. And that would be easily explained. Whereas compared to like some other markets where it's like you're not really dealing with a lot of business owners. So maybe they don't quite understand. I don't know. Just something to think about. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. I do deal with a lot of business owners, maybe
Yeah.
half and half, like entrepreneurs, attorneys, doctors, and then I
Right.
have employees, W-2 employees.
Yeah. And they
They may not
understand like,
understand it,
I want to
but
work for you.
yeah, but what I do say is, have you worked with an agent before?
Yeah,
And most of them are going to say, yeah, sure, okay, great. So then you know that we're going to work for you. It doesn't necessarily come out of your pocket. The seller's going to pay us, but
perfect.
for that reason, I'm going to put all my eggs in your basket,
Right.
and I'm hoping you're going to do the same for me because I'm really going to work hard for you to get you your home.
And I think what you're doing here is even if you're not like doing what you teach your agents to do, you're at least like having the conversations, right?
Yeah,
Even if you go to the home and show them, you're still like doing that quick few minutes conversation to make sure that they're motivated and qualified and the timing makes sense. And I think that's what a lot of many agents are missing, that piece. So let's talk about when you're at the home. How do you continue the consultation? How do you help them?
so a lot of them, or not a lot, but like some may get hung up on little details that you and I both know can be changed.
Like the
Well, they
paint
can't
color.
change. Yeah, the paint color.
Yeah.
That's
The,
one of my favorites.
the couch. And you're like, the couch is not staying. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of times it might stay in Florida, but like in Ohio, it doesn't stay.
No, most of the time it doesn't stay.
Not
You
with
know,
you. Okay.
and the paint color is like, oh my God, I can't stand it in here. Like, let's relax. Okay, let's
Right.
let's picture yourselves living in here for a second. What
Yeah.
color would you like?
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't get past the yellow or the blue or the brown. Okay, so close your eyes. How would you see this room if you're living in it? And more importantly, how would you use it?
Yeah.
Is this space usable for you? Is it enough room for you and your family?
Mm-hmm.
Do these floors work for your 4 dogs?
Oh my
You know?
God. Yeah.
Um,
How does it
stuff like
compare
that.
to like what you're currently in? Like, what do you not like about that house that you're hoping to find in a new house? Does this place have it? Stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. A lot of times we're running into a home that may need some updating or remodeling. And so
Hmm.
I'm giving them some ideas of how they can improve the property because I can see in their face, they're like, I don't know if this kitchen works. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, you mind if I give you a couple of options?
Yeah.
And yeah, sure. And so you start to give them some options of how they can open it up, how they can make it different and make it more usable. And all of a sudden they see it, they see the light.
Yeah. There
So
should be
it's,
like an app that we can use that like can change, like take a picture somehow and like change everything. So we could be like, this, is this what you want? Be
yeah,
like, dude, that's here.
that'd be great.
That'd be cool. When you invent it, I want a little, a little cut.
I'll share it with you.
What is your advice to agents that feel like if they ask too many questions that they're being pushy? How do you frame it for them that it's actually more helpful to the client? Because showing a client 50 houses is not helpful. They will lose faith,
Yeah,
right? After about 10, well, in this market, maybe 15, they will
yeah,
lose faith. So, like,
yeah.
what do you say to those agents?
Um, I think there's a way of asking questions so that you're not pushy.
Okay.
A lot of the questions you're asking so that you're getting them to see themselves in that home or not. You want them to decide, can I see myself in this home or can I not see myself in this home? Does it
Hmm.
function for me?
Hmm.
Or is it like a lot of friction in this home in terms of
Right.
trying to do this and trying to do that? So those
Right.
are a lot of the questions. And then you want to ask in a very diplomatic way. So, you know, if you see yourself in this home and you can see that potential, you want to submit an offer or
Right.
do you want to see the other properties?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
um,
always like, would you cry if you lose this
that
house?
exactly. And particularly if they want to say, well, they're asking 400, but I think it's worth 375. I'm like, well, okay,
Okay.
that's a valid point.
Yeah.
I think the comparables is the way to go. We can definitely check the comparables, but in this market, you know, prices
Will
are
somebody
over
pay?
asking,
Yeah, over 400.
over appraised value. So
Hmm.
under asking is definitely not going to work today.
Right.
So if you feel it's worth 375, can you live without this home? If someone else put us a better offer and you didn't get it, how do you feel?
Sometimes I do the math too, because if we think the home's gonna go for like 425 and they're saying 375, you're $50,000 difference. Well,
Mhm.
$50,000 at whatever their interest rate is. I mean, interest rates just went up, but we'll just say 3.1%, and do the math and be like, okay, what we are literally talking about here is 20 bucks a month. Is that enough to lose this house? If it is, it's totally fine. Like, that's great. Now we know. But then we need to know, like we had talked about earlier, it's always like trying to learn something. If that's the case, then what makes you think it's 375? Is it something that we could have seen before we got here? Or is there something that when we got here, you realized?
Yeah, that's a
You
great
know,
question. That's a great
because
question because
that then helps
you can look
them.
for it in advance.
What's that?
You can look for it in advance for the future properties,
Exactly.
not wasting
Because some,
time.
yeah, I find especially in this market, they get very like hyper. Well, a lot of buyers are hyper and they're just like excited. You're like, wait a minute, wait a minute. You wanted a basement. There's no basement here. And they're
Yeah,
like, that's okay. And I'm like, no, no, no. It's not okay. Like, that's not gonna, you're not gonna like it. You're just feeling anxious and we're not in a rush.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And people think that because the market is so crazy that they're never going to find a home. And
It's
there's
not the
another
case.
home the following week. There's another beautiful home that they're
Yeah.
dying to see. And
Exactly.
that's what we need them to understand as well. Is like it's okay. There's they pop up like sellers are coming. The
Yeah.
home is going to come. Don't get desperate.
Right.
Um, so I agree with that. That's a very valid
And I
point.
think it like shows them too, like I think going into it as representing a buyer or a seller, but in this case we're talking about buyers, it's like we have to be on their side. And the way to be on their side actually is to do more deals. Because if you're an agent that only does like 5 deals a year and that person represents 20% of your income, you're going to be more on your side,
Yeah,
but just do more deals and then all that anxiety and commission breath and all that stuff will be released and you can focus more on the client and you will ultimately make more money,
yeah,
which
100%.
is why people work, I assume, right? To
Yeah.
make more money. I don't know.
I learned that way back as well. Even like when my volume wasn't there, I was taught just detach yourself from the outcome.
Yes.
Do what's best for them, and the money will follow, because once you close on them, even though it may take a little longer, you're counting on that money. But because you treated them well and you looked out for them versus yourself, they're
Yes.
going to refer you more business.
Exactly. And it will allow you to stay calm, right?
Yeah.
Because if you get, it's easy for us as agents because we're people pleasers. We want people to be happy. It's easy for us to like take on their anxiety and emotion.
All the time.
We have to relax and stay calm so then we can like they can take that on from
Yeah.
us instead of the other way around, you know?
Yeah. Or what I like to be is the calming factor in the situation, because
Yeah.
we've been through it so many times. We can tell them like, hey, there's always something. We strive for stress-free transactions, but something comes up almost all the time.
Right.
And almost always it gets worked out,
Yes.
right? In
Exactly.
17 years, all my major issues that I stressed out and lost sleep over, it got worked out.
Right. You don't even remember them anymore.
And that's how I get myself to sleep. So I want you to know it's going to be okay. It'll work
Yeah.
itself out. And crazy things happen all the time. You think
Yes.
this is a mountain that's going to be really hard to overcome, but crazy things happen all the time.
Right.
Let's just be patient and see it through.
It's a roller coaster, but you're going backwards and you're upside down, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna, you won't die, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be rough and it'll be fine.
Yeah, but they appreciate you calming them down and assuring them that it's going to be okay, because they're super stressed out.
Exactly. So what I'm taking away from this conversation, if I'm representing a buyer, I think it's one, go ahead and ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
And ask them and just know that in your head, before you even ask the question, always be thinking like, what is best for this client? And the best thing is to make sure that I know how I can help them. And the only way to do that is to ask all of the questions and ask hard questions.
Yeah, the hard questions are important.
Yeah, exactly. And not only asking them at the beginning, but throughout the entire process to help them find a place that's going to really work for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you see one of them that's on the fence, one of them loves it and the other one's on the fence.
Oh God.
You want to call it out right there. Like, hey, you look like you're on the fence. Why are you by the front door already?
Right.
Doesn't
Why
look
are
like you
you
like this home.
right? What's
Your
going
wife wants to submit an offer right now for cash and 20,000 and you're at the door waiting to leave already. What's up?
What's up? And then you say, happy wife, happy life. So
Yeah.
we're going to be, no, I'm just kidding. That's awesome.
But
Well, I
those
really
situations-
appreciate you. What's
yeah,
that?
you want to call them out on those situations to make
Yeah.
sure everyone's on the same page, because you leave and then 2
They're
hours
gonna
later
talk
they're
about it, and then they're going to talk about it without you, and then you're not going to know. You're just going to get like the end instead of the whole thought process
Right.
around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I really appreciate you being on. Thank you so much. If people have a referral for you in Fort Lauderdale, or they have a question about what we're talking about, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
my cell, 305-725-8913, or by email is chris@realestatecraft.com.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was awesome.